The old woman sat by the roadside, a large clay pot filled with water resting beside her. Her wrapper was faded and patched, her headscarf loose around her shoulders. She looked tired, too tired to move. As Amara approached, the woman lifted her weak voice. "Please, my daughter, can you help me? I fetched this water from the stream, but I am too weak to carry it home. My house is just down this path, not far. Please, can you help an old woman?" Amara paused. The bundles on her head were already heavy, 3 bundles of cassava, a few yams, and some vegetables. Her feet ached inside her worn slippers. The sun was sinking lower, painting the sky in orange and pink, and her mother would be waiting at home. It would have been easy to refuse. But when Amara looked at the woman's face, she did not see a burden. She saw someone's mother, someone's grandmother, a woman who had once been strong and was now simply tired. Amara slowly lowered her harvest to the ground. "Of course, Mama," she said gently. "Let me help you." Relief flooded the old woman's eyes. "Bless you, my child. Bless you." Amara bent down and lifted the clay pot onto her head. It was heavier than she expected. Her arms trembled for a moment before she steadied herself. Sweat ran down her temples, but she smiled. "Lead the way, Mama. I will follow you." The old woman rose slowly, leaning on her walking stick, and began down a narrow path that branched away from the main road. Amara followed carefully, balancing the water pot while leaving her own bundles by the roadside to collect later. The path twisted through thick bushes and crossed a shallow stream. It was longer than the woman had promised. "You are very kind," the old woman said as they walked. "Most young girls these days see an old woman and think, 'Beggar.' They pass me like I am invisible." Amara shook her head gently, though the movement made the pot wobble. "You are somebody's mother, Mama. How can I walk past when you need help?" The old woman stopped and turned slowly. In the fading light, her eyes shimmered in a way Amara could not quite understand. "What is your name, my daughter?" "Amara, Mama." "Amara," the woman repeated softly. "It means grace. Your mother named you well." Amara smiled faintly. She was only 24, but life had carved years into her spirit. Since her father's death 9 years ago, she had carried more than water pots. She had carried responsibility. She had carried hunger. She had carried hope. At 15, she buried her childhood with her father. Since then, she had worked on other people's farms, washed clothes by the river, and done any honest labor she could find. While girls her age prepared for marriage, Amara prepared medicine for her sick mother. At night, she sat beside her mother's mat, rubbing her back and whispering comfort. "God will reward you for your good heart, my daughter," her mother would say every week. Amara would always smile. "I do not do it for reward, Mama. I do it because it is right." Now, as she followed the old woman deeper along the lonely path, her legs aching and her strength nearly gone, she wondered how much more her body could carry. Still, she walked. One step after another. Because kindness, she believed, was not something you gave when you were strong. It was something you gave even when you were tired. Amara's neck ached beneath the weight of the water pot. Her feet slipped on stones hidden in the dust, and more than once she nearly lost her balance. Still, she did not complain. "Are you married, Amara?" the old woman asked gently as they walked. "No, Mama," Amara replied. "I take care of my sick mother. There is no time for marriage." "No time," the old woman repeated softly. "Or no suitors." A faint, sad smile touched Amara's lips. "The boys in our village want wives who come with bride price, with family connections, with dowry. I have nothing to offer except my labor and my character. That is not enough for them." "Foolish boys," the old woman muttered. "They look at the wrapper and not the woman wearing it." At last, the narrow bush path opened into a wide clearing. Amara froze. Before her stood a large, beautiful compound, painted walls glowing in the fading sunlight, a wide veranda lined with cushioned chairs, flowering plants arranged neatly along the walkway. Solar panels gleamed on the roof, something only wealthy families could afford. Her steps faltered. "Mama, is this your house?" The old woman's lips curved into a small, knowing smile. "Where should I put the water?" she asked calmly. Still stunned, Amara followed her around the back of the house to a large storage drum. With trembling arms, she carefully lowered the pot and poured the water inside. By the time she set the empty clay pot down, her arms were shaking from exhaustion. "Wait here," the old woman said, and disappeared into the house. Amara stood alone in the growing darkness, confusion swirling in her mind. She needed to return for her bundles and get home before her mother became too worried, but leaving without a word would be disrespectful. A few minutes later, the old woman returned holding a small cloth bag. "For your kindness," she said, pressing it into Amara's hands. "No, Mama," Amara protested immediately. "I cannot accept payment. I helped you because it was right, not for money." "I know," the old woman replied, her eyes twinkling. "That is exactly why you must take it. Please. For your mother's medicine." Reluctantly, Amara accepted the bag. It felt heavy, perhaps a few folded bills. She could indeed use it for medicine. "Thank you, Mama. I must go now. My mother will worry." "Wait," the old woman said. "What is your family name? Where do you live?" "We live in Umoda village. My mother is Chioma, daughter of Okafor. People know us." The old woman nodded slowly, as though committing every word to memory. "Go well, Amara. I have a feeling we will meet again." Amara hurried back through the path, retrieved her bundles from the roadside, and reached home just as darkness settled fully over the village. Her mother was awake, worry etched across her thin face. "Amara, I was so worried. You are very late." "I'm sorry, Mama. I stopped to help an old woman carry water." She set down her harvest and lit their small oil lamp. "You have such a good heart," her mother said softly. Suddenly Amara remembered the small bag tucked into her wrapper. "Oh, Mama, the old woman gave me this." She pulled it out and opened it. Her breath caught. Inside was not a few crumpled notes, but a thick stack of money. Her hands began to tremble. "Mama, this is too much." There had to be at least 50,000 naira, maybe more. It was more money than she had ever seen at one time. "I must return it," she said quickly. She must have made a mistake. But night had already fallen, and she did not even know the woman's name. She would have to wait until morning. That night, sleep avoided her. Questions chased one another through her mind. Who was that woman? Why test her with those questions about marriage and kindness? Why lead her to such a grand house? And why did it feel as though the encounter had been more than coincidence? At dawn, Amara set out to find the house. But when she reached the spot where the narrow path had branched from the main road, it was gone. There was no clearing. No sign of footsteps. No opening in the bush. She searched for over an hour, walking up and down the road, pushing aside shrubs, certain she must have mistaken the place. Villagers passed by. When she asked about a large compound hidden beyond the bush, they stared at her strangely. "There is nothing there," one man said. "Only thick forest." Confused and unsettled, Amara finally gave up and went to the market. If she could not return the money, she would at least use it for good, as the old woman had intended. 2 weeks passed. With proper medicine, her mother's health improved noticeably. There was enough food in the house. For the first time in years, worry loosened its grip slightly. Amara even bought herself a new wrapper for church. Life felt lighter, brighter. Then one Sunday, after service ended and worshippers gathered outside the church gate, Amara saw her. The old woman. But she was no longer dressed in faded cloth. She wore elegant attire, rich and well-tailored. People greeted her respectfully, bowing slightly and calling her Ma. Beside her stood a tall, handsome young man in a fine shirt and trousers. Amora's heart began to pound. She tried to slip quietly into the crowd, but the old woman's eyes found her instantly. "Amora," the woman called clearly. "Amora, daughter of Chioma." Heads turned. There was no escape. Amora stepped forward nervously and bowed. "Good morning, Mama." The old woman smiled, that same mysterious smile from 2 weeks before. "My dear child, I have been looking for you. Come. There is someone you must meet." She turned to the young man. "Chitty, this is the young woman I told you about. The one who carried the water. This is Amora." Chitty stepped forward. His eyes were warm, kind, just like his mother's. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Amora," he said gently. "My mother has spoken of nothing else for 2 weeks." Amora felt completely lost. "Mama, I don't understand." The old woman took her hand softly. "Walk with us, child," she said. "There is much to explain." They moved to a quiet corner of the church compound, away from curious ears. The old woman's expression changed. Her voice, though gentle, carried authority. "Amora, my son Chitty is 30 years old, successful, educated, and unmarried. For 3 years I have searched for a wife for him. Not just any wife, but a woman of character. A woman whose kindness is real." Amora's breath caught. "I have tested many girls," the woman continued. "Rich families, poor families, educated girls, beautiful girls. I dressed in old wrappers and sat by the roadside or in the market asking for small help, carrying water, simple directions, little tasks that cost nothing but compassion." She looked directly into Amora's eyes. "Do you know how many stopped to help?" Amora shook her head slowly. "In 3 years, only 4 out of hundreds. And of those 4, you were different." Tears welled in Amora's eyes. "The others helped quickly, impatiently. One threw money at me and told me to hire someone. Another complained the entire time about her manicure. But you," her voice softened, "you treated me with dignity. You carried that heavy water though you were exhausted. You refused payment. You called me Mama, with warmth." "I was only doing what was right," Amora whispered. "Exactly," the old woman replied, her own eyes shining. "That is the kind of daughter-in-law I want." Chitty stepped forward, his voice calm and sincere. "I know this is sudden, Amora. My mother's methods are unusual, but she is wise. A good wife cannot be chosen by wealth or beauty alone. She must be chosen by heart." He paused. "Would you allow me to court you? No pressure. No rush. Just a chance to know each other properly." Amora felt as though the ground beneath her had shifted. "But my mother is sick," she stammered. "I have no dowry. No connections. I have nothing." The older woman squeezed her hand. "You have everything that matters. Character, strength, kindness. As for your mother, we will ensure she receives proper care. We will take care of her together." "I need time," Amora whispered. "I must speak to my mother." "Of course," Chitty said. "May I visit tomorrow to greet her properly?" Amora nodded and gave directions to their small hut. When she told her mother everything that afternoon, the older woman wept. "I told you," she said softly. "God rewards a good heart. But remember, my daughter, do not marry to escape poverty. Marry only if you respect the man." The next day, Chitty came. He did not wrinkle his nose at their modest home. He did not sit awkwardly. He greeted her mother with respect, sat on their worn mat without hesitation, and spoke warmly. Over the following weeks, he visited often. Sometimes he brought food or medicine. Sometimes nothing at all. Just conversation. Amora learned he owned a transport company, a farm, and a retail business. He had studied business in the city but returned home to build his community. More importantly, he listened to her. He valued her opinions. He treated her as an equal. But the village began to whisper. How had a poor girl like Amara captured such a wealthy man? Some accused her of using charms. Others claimed there must be something wrong with Chitty if he could not find a proper wife. One afternoon at the market, Amara overheard two women. She planned it, one scoffed. Pretended to help the old woman knowing she was rich. The words pierced her. She went home and cried. She had not schemed. She had only been herself. When Chitty's mother heard of the gossip, she visited immediately. Let them talk, she said firmly. People who do not understand kindness judge others by their own hearts. Still, the rumors spread. Some friends grew distant. Even certain relatives objected. The greatest test came 3 months into the courtship. Chitty's uncle, a powerful and wealthy man in the family, invited Amara and her mother to dinner. It was clearly an examination. The questions were sharp. Can you cook the meals our family enjoys? Can you host important guests? What can your family contribute? Amara answered honestly and with dignity. Her mother sat upright, quiet but proud. Then the uncle turned to Chitty. There are many suitable girls from good families. This girl is beneath your station. Think of your future. The room fell silent. Amara felt her heart crack. She began to rise, ready to leave with whatever dignity remained. But Chitty stood first. Uncle, I respect you, he said calmly. But you are wrong. Amara is not beneath me. She is above me. She has shown more character in 24 years than many show in a lifetime. If you cannot see her worth, that is your blindness, not her deficiency. Then he turned to her. Amara, will you marry me? Not because of wealth. Not because of my mother's wishes. But because I believe we can build a life based on respect and shared values. She looked at him, the man who defended her when it mattered most. Yes, she said softly. Then stronger. Yes, I will marry you. Their wedding 3 months later was the talk of the village. But Amara ignored the whispers. She saw only what mattered. Her mother, now healthier, seated proudly. Her new mother-in-law smiling through tears. And Chitty looking at her with unwavering respect. During her speech, Amara spoke simply. I did not help an old woman expecting reward. I helped her because it was right. If there is any lesson in my story, it is this. Character matters. How you treat people when there is nothing to gain, that is who you truly are. The applause was long. Years passed. Their marriage grew strong. They raised 3 children with the same values Amara's mother had taught her. Amara never forgot her beginnings. She started a small foundation that supported poor girls with education and skills training. Sometimes she would dress simply and go to the market, helping elders carry loads, not to test others, but to teach her children by example. As for the village gossip, it faded. Because success built on character speaks louder than rumors ever can. And whenever someone asked how her life changed so suddenly, Amara would smile and say, it didn't change suddenly. It changed the day I chose kindness, when no one was watching.